So Nicolás says, hello, my name is Nicolás and I'm from Spain. Shout out to Spain. Hey, call back. Here's a clip from my daily freestyle session. I practice every day. That's awesome. Sorry for the low quality setup. I've been thinking of recording these practices and uploading them to a daily channel. I can freestyle both in English and Spanish interchangeably. That's amazing, dude. And yes, dude, you're doing everything right. Don't apologize for the low quality setup. Everybody starts on a low quality setup. But it's awesome that you're getting the work in. I'm stoked to see this.
Dude, that's what I liked a lot about it, because we talked about that last episode. It's just like, work with what you got and just put it out there.
100%.
So I thought this was really dope, man.
My way, I be changing the flow, but I be changing the cadence, and I be going so dope. Let's go, yo! And you know I generate the next batch. I attack, I just snap something like Harry Mack, yeah. And I keep rhyming out of addiction. I be feeling the affliction of this addition of words, and you know I do it out of habit. I'm an addict, I be rapping, I be doing at it. I be opening up a track, something like a rabbit, out of habit, in its own habitat. The rabbit be going off at it. Let's go, and you know I feel. No, I do it just like that. Desde la unión que vengo con el rap, es mi honor el compartir este amor. Sabes que a veces también trae terror cuando voy y canto en público. Sabes que lo hago y es algo lúdico, pero aún así me siento nervioso. I'm a switch and fill you all with language. That Spanish you didn't expect it. I'm an accent, yeah, and I'm sharp as a thorn. And you know I just get ready straight to perform. And then they say nothing rhymes with orange. Okay, bro, but you know I live the beat torn.
Hey, that's dope. That's dope. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Nicolás is his name, right?
Yep.
Shout out to Nicolás, dude. That was dope. Thank you for sending that in, man. I'm so jealous of people that can rap in multiple languages, dude. That's so sick, man. To just be able to seamlessly flow from one into the other, like whenever you feel like it, and suddenly it's a whole new palette of colors to play in. That's so dope, dude. So hats off to you first and foremost for the bilingual element and incorporating both into your freestyling. Because I have to imagine, even if you're fluent in both languages, that it's still just a whole new set of challenges. Like, just because you're fluent in both languages, I have to assume that doesn't mean that, like, whatever level you're at freestyling in the one language is automatically applied to the other language. Like, I would assume they each have their own sort of unique hurdles and challenges as you're coming up. So you're killing it in that respect off the top, man. But no, man, I loved the energy. I loved the I felt a lot of joy coming through the screen, and I feel like that's a big thing, especially for me. Like, I'm always trying to convey, not even trying, to be honest, but I'm always conveying the fact that I love what I'm doing because I genuinely love what I'm doing, you know? So I don't have to try to convey that. And I felt that from you too. Like, and that's so awesome to watch. And that's always going to just be such a value add, you know, to what you do, because people love watching other people do what they love, right? And it's contagious. So I love the energy. And yeah, dude, using the random word generator is a great tool to practice, and I work on that all the time. And you were incorporating the words, and you were also, you know, scheming a little bit, which is to say, like, not just rapping the word itself, but also free associating maybe to a related word and adding that on. And with addition, like, I saw sometimes what the challenge can be with the random word generator is contextualizing the word. Like in a sentence and making it sort of like make sense and sound fluent. So like I saw you set up addition with addiction. And then you had some other word in there as well that rhymed with it, but it was something like, yo, I'm just out here rapping out of addiction. And I hope y'all are ready for this addition. And I was like, oh, what's he? That doesn't necessarily make that much sense on its own, but what you did that was smooth and works really well is with this addition of words. And you continued from there. So it was like, it's that over the bar line thing of making sure that the word actually like makes sense contextually in a phrase that communicates something. If you had just moved on after saying, yo, I'm rapping out of addiction, hope all of y'all are ready for this edition, and I'm right here on this mic, it would be like, oh, okay, it works, it rhymes, but what do you mean ready for this edition? Like, are you doing some math homework right now? Like, what are we adding on, you know? And so that would have been confusing, but you fixed it with that over the bar line kind of phrase, which is nice too, because it's unexpected. You know, the sentence doesn't end where the rhyme ends. It ends halfway into the next bar, which is a really useful tool as a freestyler too, because sometimes we don't know exactly how we're going to incorporate these words. So we have to kind of like stretch into the next bar to make it fit. So yeah, I mean, I would say on the constructive tip, One thing that I think you might benefit from working on is considering the structure of your phrases. So a lot of times, like when we're freestyling, the phrasing is very just like loosey-goosey, very malleable. It's just whatever it has to be to keep the ball in the air, right? Like if you're juggling or whatever, it's like whatever you have to do to not drop the ball, you're doing that. So what I mean is like the rhymes will be like, hey, yo, I'm here, and I'm just spitting something that is clear as soon as it appears, and no fear, because I'm not ever scared, but I am remaining aware and unprepared. And you, by the way, were rhyming a lot smoother than that, but just as an example, it's like the rhymes are kind of falling all over the place, right? Without really having like a consistent structure. And so for me, one of the biggest things that separates like what sounds like a written rhyme from a freestyle is that exact fact that oftentimes the freestyle doesn't have a consistent repeating structure. So it's not predictable where the rhyming words are going to land because they're landing all over the place. One time they land at the beginning of the bar, next bar they land in the middle of the bar, then they land at the end of the bar, then there's 3 crammed in really quickly, then there's a long gap between the rhymes, right? And that can all sound great and be really dope, you know, because it has this loose improvisational feel. But for me, one of the things that is so powerful as a freestyler to really level up is to work on committing to a consistent, repeatable structure. And the most basic, consistent, repeatable structure is a rhyming couplet where the rhyming words are happening at the end of the bar. So a rhyming couplet is just 2 lines. Yo, I'm just sitting right here on the couch, kicking dope freestyles all about my mouth. That's a rhyming couplet. And in that example, the rhyming words couch and mouth came at the end of the bar, like close to beat 4. So if you're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe I should reverse this for the people at home. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, rhyme. 1, 2, 3, couch. 1, 2, 3, mouth. Yo, I'm just sitting right here on this couch. All these dope freestyles coming out my mouth. Y'all know this freestyle here, they can't beat it. Simple structure that can be repeated. So the rhyming words start falling at like roughly the same place, and it's consistent, and you're establishing this motif, right? And so what that does for the listener is they're like, oh, there's structure here. Like humans love structure. We love patterns. We're like obsessed with patterns, probably because we have to be able to recognize patterns to survive. Well, we used to. I guess we still do to an extent. Like, but definitely back in the day, you had to be able to be like, oh shit, lion, danger, let's dip. You know, that's a pattern that you recognize. And so, you know, we really love patterns, and we love when it feels like there's structure. So that's why, like for beginner freestylers, where the rhymes are kind of landing wherever they happen to land, and you don't yet necessarily have control over the structure, right? To be expected when you're starting out. When somebody listens to that, they're like, oh yeah, it's dope. Like it sounds like he's improvising, you know, for sure. Like he's winging it, he's figuring it out. But if you can practice these rhyming couplets and putting the rhyme always in the same place, and it doesn't have to always be on the 4, there's a ton of different repeatable patterns that you could eventually grow into. I would recommend starting there because that's kind of like the most standard bread and butter, like basic way of doing it. But if you can practice that and get like a really good control over like you're intentionally putting the rhyme in the same spot every time, it's super powerful. And that's when people will hear your stuff and be like, yo, it's crazy because he's improvising, but it sounds clean, you know, and they won't necessarily know why, or they won't know how to describe it. It's like, yo, he's making it up on the spot, but like, it sounds like you wrote it, you know, or like, it sounds like he's in control of it, you know, because you, at that point, you will be fully in control of it. And yeah, the way to practice that too, by the way, for anybody that is trying to figure it out is like, do exactly what I was just doing with the counting. Just remove every word except the 4. You can just 1, 2, 3, hand. 1, 2, 3, stand. 1, 2, 3, light. 1, 2, 3, mic. And then you start filling in some of the blanks. So maybe you just count to 2 and then you add a little bit of context. So like 1, 2, sitting on the couch. 1, 2, winning in the drought. 1, 2, we do the podcast. 1, 2, it's not for Comcast. 1, 2, whatever. And then you fill in more of it. So you only count to 1. 1, sitting right here on my chair. 1, pulling lyrics out of thin air. 1, piece of people watching at home. 1, when I rhyme, I'm up in the zone. Then you replace the 1 with just a sound like, because then nobody can tell you're even doing an exercise anymore. I replace the word with a sound. Yeah, y'all know what's about to go down. Hey, check out the way that we move. Put in practice, then we improve. And then eventually you can smooth out all the gaps entirely. I don't need a gap. I don't even need a sound. I fill it all with words and they all are profound. If I say I'm illest off the top, then I meant it. I don't need no space to breathe. I kick a sentence, then a paragraph, and eventually a book. I stomp on the fault line, leave the game shook. And now you're just flowing, but it's all happening in these couplets where the rhymes are landing just the same place. Every time landing in the same place. And you might say, well, isn't that too predictable? And, yeah, eventually it will be, but you don't have to worry about it being too predictable until you can do it. That's my thing about this is like, eventually there will come a time where you've really been putting in a lot of work and you can really nail these couplets and you can always put the rhyme in the right place. And then it's like, yo, I got to switch it up. Because now it always sounds like I'm just doing these same basic couplets, like what's next? And you can start to explore that. But the thing is, it's so much harder to be able to go from having no control over where the rhymes are landing and just always being at the whim of when the rhymes come to you and having everything sound kind of like it's always just all over the place, to go from there to being able to do the consistent thing where you are intentionally putting the rhyme in the same place. That takes a lot of work. Like that takes really focused practice for a long time to be able to do that smoothly. And so to be able to do it, you will learn so much along the way and you will be a completely different freestyler than you were previously by the time you can do that. And then, yeah, you can start addressing the fact that now it sounds too cookie cutter and too predictable. And then you start finding other patterns. But I think that's huge, man. I think that's so huge. And I think that would be really big for you, man, because you're killing it with the rhyming words. You're finding the rhyming words. You're scheming. You're rapping in multiple languages, dog. So you're already ahead of the game in so many aspects. And your energy is great and your delivery is good. And you're using the tools available to you. You're doing everything right. But I think that's the next evolution for you, man, is to start really thinking about your phrasing and the structure you're putting around the bars.
Hell yeah. I think it's really dope. He's saying how, he's considering posting these practice sessions every single day.
Do that, dude. I love that, man. I love that. Yeah, that's one thing. By the way, call back to the question where somebody was saying, what would I change about my journey? I think I probably would have started documenting it earlier. I did it all in a silo, and then all of my research, like for feedback, my research groups were done at the house parties when I was in a cypher, That's when I would get feedback. But nowadays, you have social media, and I know it can be scary to post stuff and put yourself out there, but I think it is valuable to start documenting your process, and people will want to see you win and they'll be able to see your improvement. And then what's really cool is, 5 years from now when you're like, just killing it as a freestyler and everybody knows who you are, they can scroll all the way back to 5 years prior when you were just getting started, or not even just getting started, but at the level that you're at today, and follow that progress. But you're killing it, dog. Keep on doing your thing, man. And thank you for sending that in.